Well, Bob, we certainly can feel the enthusiasm here. We hadn't gotten to the last few stanzas of the Star-Spangled Banner before the crowd itself broke into a big roar. They're anxious to see this.
Looking now as Virginia breaks the huddle to go out for the traditional lineup. Both teams will face each other. The goalies will shake hands, and the game will be underway. Howie Offit facing off for Johns Hopkins and Steve Krause for Virginia. Offit rakes it back towards his own goal as he does so often. Greenberg trying to pick it up, loses it inside to Caravana, and Caravana will control for Virginia, and they'll go on offense for the first time today. Looking outside as Virginia likes to move the ball around a lot. Now inside, and a shot deflected nicely by Greenberg on a slide, out of bounds, but backed up, we see by number 13, Matt Reynes. They rotate off now to John Driscoll. Driscoll, the key man on this offensive midfield for the University of Virginia. He drives in, he'll try to come back. He wards off and gets inside now, looking back out front. Hopkins playing very, very tight man-to-man defense. The ball back out front now to Rich Riccardi. He gives it over to number 20, Sonny Esposito. Esposito fires, got a weak shot, picked off by Federico. Federico gives it off quickly to Dave Black. Johns Hopkins will generally use an L clear, or they will use two men on the near side of the field to create a 2-on-1 and clear the ball on the near side of the field. It's picked off in there by number 9, that's Stevie Byrne. They get back in quickly to Natoli. He's on his way to the goal. He pulls out now and he gives it off to Mike Caravana. Caravana just go fire from here, fires wide of the goal on the right-hand side. The Justo brothers are twins. Rick, number 16, Ray, number 19. Ray coming in now, trying to take Lance Schneck. Comes inside, he has a shot from there. He's double-teamed, gives it off to Siri. He loses the ball. Flipped out by number 38, Leroy Katz, kept back in play nicely by Tony Savarese. Have a push call coming up, I believe, Joe. And Johns Hopkins goes on offense for the first time.
And there should be a brief pause as Johns Hopkins now will substitute those defensive midfielders. In case you hadn't noticed, Johns Hopkins was using 6 defensemen, as we'll see them often do when they're on defense. And now they're substituting those men with a new offensive midfield.
On offensive midfield for Johns Hopkins, 18, Henry Ciccarone. 25, Brendan Schneck, the superstar, and number 12, Joe Sleddy. Schneck, they get it over out in front of the goal. Schneck will come back and probably fire from here. He does, and a goal, the first goal of the game. Johns Hopkins scores an unassisted goal by Brendan Schneck with 12:55 remaining in the first quarter. Johns Hopkins 1, Virginia 0.
And that's the man that Virginia's going to have to stop in order to win this ball game. Brendan Schneck, an incredible number of goals, 44 this year, a transfer from the United States Naval Academy, and he has been nothing but outstanding for Johns Hopkins.
Ball rolling back towards the Hopkins goal, picked up by Wayne Davis, and he is knocked down on an outstanding hit by Sonny Esposito. And Virginia's on the way. Driscoll faces it off in a fast break. Inside, a beautiful save by Federico on a shot by Mike Caravana. The ball hard as Federico has it. Coming up the far side of the field, a great pass to Greenberg, and Greenberg's on his way down the field across the midfield line. Beautiful clear by Johns Hopkins, and a great save by Federico. The shot by Caravana was point blank as they give it off to Davis. Davis likes to shoot left-handed. He's coming back right, though. He has an angle. He fires and scores! The second goal of the game for Johns Hopkins. The Jays are up now 2-0, 10-14 remaining in the first quarter.
And that's been the trademark of the Blue Jays this year. They don't need possession for a long period of time. They score very quickly when they have the ball. And we just saw them do it. Virginia practically dominated the first 3.5 minutes of the first quarter of this ball game.
Picked up now by Caravana. Real control for Virginia. Back out front. Checked down by Howie Offit and a good play. And Johns Hopkins will have the ball cleared easily. Offit bringing it over the midfield line. They've got a fast break. He'll get it over to Bidne. Bidne should take it. Instead he fires inside. Back to Bidne now. Bidne shoots it. Scores! Johns Hopkins rolling it up now. 3-0. 9:43 remaining in the first quarter.
We're going to look for Ace Adams to call a timeout very soon. I would think he'll either do it now or perhaps wait for one more goal. And as we look down on the field, he's making the sign of a T, and he is going to call a timeout.
Now picked up again by Greenberg. And believe me, when Greenberg doesn't want you to go to the goal, you don't go to the goal. Caravana pulls back out now. Greenberg stays with him all the way. Caravana inside, gets double teamed, runs himself into the double team. The ball pops loose. Saletti having a little trouble getting up off the rug, but he's clear coming across, looking inside. No fast break as the Virginia midfielders get back on defense very well. As Johns Hopkins moves their splits offense, puts the ball back behind to Schneck. Schneck will probably try Kevin O'Shea on, coming hard out front. Will want to shoot if he gets two hands on the ball. He does. Checked away nicely. Ball rolling loose. Picked up by Jeff Harris. He feeds into the crease to Bidne. He's wide open, scores! Jim Bidne just snowboarding it right in front of the goal. Has a low bouncing shot go past Brian Gregory. Johns Hopkins now leads 4-0, 5:38 remaining in this quarter. Crowd settles down and gives it over to Sonny Esposito. Esposito glances to the bench to see if they're going to substitute middies, and the coaching staff waves off the substitution. So Esposito, Krause, and Driscoll stay in the game at midfield for Virginia. Driscoll now on a long fire shot, a beautiful underhanded shot by Johnny Driscoll as he saw Federico standing flat-footed back in the goal, and Virginia has their first goal of the game, now trailing Johns Hopkins 4-1, 3:46 remaining in the first quarter. Siri driving in, he'll try to get a shot off with only 26 seconds showing. Flag down, delayed call. It's going to go against Marty Bergen. It'll be a slash, and Virginia will have an extra man opportunity. Joe, you might want to explain what can happen if Virginia still has the ball at the end of this quarter. Caravana's going to try to pull Greenberg back towards the goal, draw a double team, a bad pass. Picked up now by Ray Justo. He fired. A nice play by Federico. Picked up right in the stick of Hattie Nicholas. And Nicholas is on his way to clear the ball for Johns Hopkins. A beautiful pass into Soletti. Soletti's got a fast break coming back in over to Bidne. Bidne looks into Zafuto. Zafuto does not have an opening as they were down a man coming down. But Johns Hopkins has killed the extra man offense of Virginia. A beautiful check by O'Shea, but controlled now by David Black. And he'll come across the midfield line with the ball easily clear, looking inside for some help. And he'll find Jim Bidne. Gives it off to Bidne on a bounce as Johns Hopkins utilizing the AstroTurf here to its fullest. Justo picked up by Leroy Katz, and he'll give it off to Dave Willis. Willis now is going to try Dave Black on, gets back inside. Dave Black tries to shoot, and it's popped straight up in the air, picked off by Federico. He loses it, gives it over to Greenberg. Greenberg's on his way. A beautiful pass to Bidne. They've got a fast break now. He gives it over to Harris. Harris back to Zafuto. Zafuto doesn't get it, and not a clean pass. If that'd been a good pass, Zafuto would have had his goal. Justo now out in the top of the box with Lou Ruin. Hopkins defense just awesome here. They call that a brush as Leroy Katz pokes inside of Rick Justo. Ray Justo now trying to beat Lance Schneck. Has the ball knocked down by Schneck. Schneck tries to get it out of there. It's put straight up in the air. Anybody's ball at this point. They bat at it. Picked up by Ruin. He's got a shot. If he takes it, he trips down and loses the ball as he could not gain his footing on the AstroTurf. Picked up by Federico. Federico to Black. Black to Schneck, and Johns Hopkins goes back on offense. That's Coach Bruce Arena.
Billy, listen. John behind the cage. Sonny, you two with the ball, we're switching. The ball's out front here should be with Ray, okay? Ray, move it in. As soon as Ray moves in with it, we're making our moves.
28 seconds showing on the clock. He roses it off to number 7, Rich Riccardi. Riccardi, a low bouncer. I don't think that was the play they wanted to pull, Joe.
That was an awful weak shot, Bob.
Out to Lance Schneck. Schneck back to Black. Johns Hopkins will be in no hurry to clear. 14 seconds showing on the halftime clock here. Federico holds it, gives it over to Leroy Katz. Katz will jog up and then probably turn back as we see 5 seconds. A little bit of pushing on the far sideline. Federico now the long clearing pass up towards the Virginia goal. And kind of a strange move. Brian Gagery came out as the halftime end to push Zafuto. The ball could have bounced in the goal, but it did not. And that's the end of the first half. Johns Hopkins leading Virginia 4-1.
And now halftime is concluded with Johns Hopkins on top 4-1. We want to thank our Richie Moran, the head coach at Cornell, for his halftime analysis, and we'll see if the respective coaches do what Richie said he thought they would do. In essence, Richie was talking about more movement for Virginia. Make Mike Federico move.
As Virginia tries to clear with Kevin O'Shea, gets it over across to number 35, Billy Weicker. Excuse me, that was number 25, Tony Savarese. And now Virginia has the ball cleared. Sonny Esposito driving down towards the goal. So he can shoot from there as he comes inside, fires a low bouncer, and rolls in on the Federico. And Virginia has their second goal of the game. Now Johns Hopkins leading Virginia 4-2, 13-13 remaining in the third quarter. Federico thought he had that one all the way.
I can't remember Virginia being held to 1.5 goals.
Justo fires in towards Natoli. He tries to get a backhanded shot off, but Federico sort of tips it away. Federico's an errant pass. Natoli looking for somebody to give it up to. Fires out front to Caravana, and he scores! A nice move by Natoli and Caravana, and Johns Hopkins' lead is cut to 1 now, 4-3, 12-18 remaining in the third quarter. Picked up by number 7, Rich Riccardi. He gives it back out to Brendan Schneck. Johns Hopkins has 2 men on the crease, Soletti and Jeff Harris. Schneck's open now, comes clean. He wants to fire. Instead, it puts it back behind as Zafuto. Zafuto looks back out front. Gets by O'Shea. O'Shea goes, Zafuto fires. Hits the pipe top of the goal. And a nice shot by Zafuto. Bounces off and rolls back out front. All day long, Kevin O'Shea has tried to go over Jimmy Zafuto's head. That time, Zafuto beat him, but couldn't put it in the cage. Schneck now pressuring in, coming up, tip fire, and scores! What a beautiful screen. We talked about the screen. There was Soletti and Zafuto standing right in front of the goal. Gregory never saw it.
And Bob, I'll tell you what happened. That ball bounced off a player's shoulder in there and went in the goal. The goalie had it measured.
Driscoll picked up by Leroy Katz. Driscoll not doing much today as he's being shut out by the long sticks of the Johns Hopkins defensive midfielders. Driscoll now pulls out is going to reload and try to get by Leroy Katz. Comes back right. He can fire from there. Does. A nice save by Federico. Federico kicks it back out towards the far side. Now Federico in big trouble out of the goal. All the way on the far side. He tried to get into Matt Reynes. Reynes looks in and shoots and scores! Matt Reynes with a shot from about 20 yards away. Brings the game back to within 1. Johns Hopkins 5, Virginia 4, 7:34 remaining in this quarter. Federico made another error, Joe, 2 in this quarter.
And that's the second time as we watch it coming up again that they've been scored on while Mike's out of the goal, and it seems like that's almost the only way as we watch it once again. Firing at a naked goal, defenseman in there, but he's no goalie, and the ball whisks over his shoulder. And once again, Virginia gets a goal with Michael Federico out of the goal.
And Virginia now sensing a tie game, trailing by 1 goal, 7:18 remaining in the third quarter. Justo picked up by Barney Field, takes Barney Field back behind the goal. He's looking out front. Double teamed, gives it inside to number 4, Lou Rowland, and they have it now back to Matt Reynes. Reynes feeds in, there's a nice shot by Rowland, he scores! All day long. Have Hopkins sag back in, shoot from the outside, and Virginia has tied this game 5-all, 7:02 remaining in the third quarter. But Federico all alone down there, stuffed the goalie.
A beautiful, beautiful play by Mike Federico, stuffed him completely. What could have been the go-ahead goal for Virginia, and it's going to be a 1-second penalty. Let's take a look at it. Coming in, Finn on the right, sees the man open on the left, feeds across. Watch Mike Federico come out, cut off the angle. You young goalies, look at that and learn. Came right out, took him high, and after that, there was a 1-minute slashing penalty against Johns Hopkins. Looking down the field, Ace Adams, very taciturn coach. He looks like he's trailing by 10 goals when, in fact, his team has just come from behind, tied 5-all on extra man. Bob Smith?
Over to Ray Justo. Justo out front to Johnny Driscoll. Driscoll cradling once, now back to Justo as they drop down in a 2-2-2. Back behind the goal now to Caravana. Quick feed, Natoli scores! And a beautiful feed. Natoli, all he can get up was the head of his stick. He popped it right into the goal, stick side against Mike Federico. And for the first time in this game, Virginia leads 6-5. Caravana looking for some open territory, pulls way out front and gives it off to number 7, Rich Riccardi. 1:27 remaining in the third quarter. Virginia leading Johns Hopkins 6-5 in the NCAA championship game. Rowland driving in, can fire again, low bouncer, scores! Rowland on a sweep right, scores as he beats Federico to his own stick side, and Virginia now moves up by 2, 7-5 over Johns Hopkins, 1:19 remaining in this quarter. Zafuto forcing in, does not have an opening. Nobody open on the crease. Zafuto will pull it back out. Beats Byrne back to the pipe, but that's no good as he's running away and cutting his angle down. Now back a feed across the crease to Bidne, and Bidne scores a backhanded shot. A beautiful play by Jim Bidne as he got the feed right in front of his defenseman, and Johns Hopkins comes back now to within 1 of Virginia. Virginia 7, Johns Hopkins 6, 31-second shot. Leroy Katz, Marty Bergen, and Lance Schneck coming in to play midfield defense for Johns Hopkins.
A very common occurrence on AstroTurf, Bob. Those shoes stop very quickly as we watch 5 seconds to go. Virginia will probably flip it out front, and they'll be content to stand still with the ball as we end the third quarter.
That's the end of the third quarter. The University of Virginia Cavaliers 7, Johns Hopkins Blue Jays 6. We'll be back in a moment.